Players, if you would assemble to your places. I introduce the absolutely ready for prime time players. Jesus begins today's parable by telling us that Jesus was eating with tax collectors and sinners, and the religious authorities didn't like it. So seeing that, Jesus turned to the crowd and he said, there was a man who had 2 daughters. Daughters? Thank you, thank you. The youngest daughter said to her father, Dad, there's nothing to do here. I hate to work in the fields. Why did I go to college if I just have to work all day? I'm young, I want to have fun. Please, please, could you give me my inheritance now? It's just collecting dust in that old chest of yours. So the dad looked at the child. Then he looked at his chest. He looked at his child again. There wasn't enough time to write to an advice columnist. So he made a decision. He opened his chest and he took out 2 sacks of cash. He weighed them carefully, making sure they were even. Yeah, okay. And then he gave one to his youngest daughter. Woohoo, she was happy. So a few days after she had packed up her belongings, namely the bag of cash, she traveled to a big city. And there she spent all of her money on parties and cars and clothes and all kinds of fun stuff, and all the party people had a great time. And she kept giving away all of her money to the party people who were happy to take it.
Welcome to the land of fame, excess. Am I gonna fit in? I jumped in the cab, here I am for the first time. Look to my right and I see the Hollywood sign. This is all so crazy. Everybody seems so famous. Hands up, play my song. Life was far away. Running away like air. Moving my hips like air. Got my hands up, play my song. Love gonna be okay. Yeah, there's a party in the USA. Yeah, there's a party in the USA.
At the end of the party, there was no money left. She had spent everything. And a severe famine overtook the city and the area around it. And now that she had spent all her money, she had nothing for food, and she was cold. So she began walking out of the city, sad, begging. So she made her way to a farm. And there she was so hungry, she asked for a job. So the farmer said, okay, you can go out and feed my sheep. Sheep, on your feet. Look hungry. Hold your hands out. Get that food, sheep. So the prodigal daughter fed the sheep, and as she was feeding them, she said to herself, man, they've got some food to eat, and I still have nothing. She would gladly have filled her belly with sheep food. But then she came to herself. Oh, wow. And she thought to herself, how many of my father's workers have food enough and pizza on Fridays? But here I am dying of hunger. Here's what I'll do, she thought to herself. I'll get up and I'll go to my father and I'll say to him, Dad, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I've been reckless and silly and spent all my money. Okay, your money. Let me work for you. I'll do anything. I'll live in the barn. So, with her speech all ready, she set off and went to her father. So as she got closer to home, the father, who had never stopped scanning the area to look for her, saw her and ran to her and threw his arms around her and kissed her. And the daughter, having rehearsed her speech so many times, started to give it. Dad, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be your daughter. But the dad said, no, not now, not now. That's for later. And he called his servants. And he said to them, bring the best robe we have, because he knew she was cold. And put a ring on her finger and sandals on her feet. And to another servant he said, get the fatted hamburgers. Double cheeseburgers with all the special sauce. We're having a party because she is alive and she's come home. She was lost and now she's found. And they were happy and partied. Now, the elder daughter, do you remember the elder daughter who is still working out in the fields? The older daughter heard the party and came closer to the house to see what was going on, and she called one of the servants up. What's going on? And the servant told her, your sister has come home and your father has killed the fatted hamburgers because he got her back safe and sound. So we're rejoicing. The older sister became angrier. She says, I'm not going to any party. Forget it. So the dad, seeing what was going on, he went up to his eldest daughter. And his daughter said to him, shaking her finger at him, listen, for all these years I have been working like a servant for you, and I have never disobeyed you. Yet you have never even given me a small pizza with pepperoni so that I might celebrate with my friends. But when this daughter of yours came back, who has wasted all your money on parties and cars and clothes, you throw a party? So the father said to her, "My girl, you are always with me, and I love you, and all that is mine is yours. But we had to celebrate and rejoice because this sister of yours was lost and has been found." But the older sister turned her back on her father, and she refused to go into the party. So at the beginning of the parable, the youngest daughter was the prodigal in her self-imposed exile. But at the end of the parable, after the younger daughter has come home, it's the oldest daughter who has gone into exile, also self-imposed. So is it the parable of the prodigal daughter? Or is it the parable of the older sister? Or is there a third option? Is it the parable of God's love? Because in between them, God's heart breaks with love, wanting everyone to be inside the circle. Miroslav Volf, a theologian, says this about the parable. Sin is the kind of purity that wants the world cleansed of the other, rather than the heart cleansed of the evil that drives people out by calling those who are clean unclean and refusing to help make clean those who are unclean. Our kids this morning sang a great song about forgiveness. We build up walls instead of bridges. Maybe that's the heart of the parable. And so players, come forward, please take a bow. And once again, with apologies to Gilbert and Sullivan. Thank you. You can go back to your places now.